back to another episode of FNS Sports Media Podcast. This is episode 26, and this is Christmas edition since it's in December. All the episodes that we're gonna do this month, it's not December yet. It's tomorrow's December, but all the episodes that we're gonna do in December, it's gonna kind of have like some Christmassy, like gifs and stuff like this, just the Christmas edition. But I'm Cooper.
My name's Aaron.
Let's get right into it. Alright, so the MLB free agency has started up. Finished the season a few months ago, and we're just gonna go over some free agency. Not a lot yet, but there's still a few that we can talk about.
Yeah, and you talked about this being the Christmas edition, so this is teams going out doing some of their Christmas shopping for the upcoming year. Some teams are being pretty aggressive with their shopping list. Other teams are kind of taking a wait and see approach with it. But let's talk about what's been going down.
Yeah, outfielder Jason Heyward re-signed with the Dodgers. I think the Dodgers kind of found something that other teams haven't. He had a better season than most of his other season. His last time kind of 269, 15 home runs, 40 RBIs. He did pretty good. The next one this is a big one for Cardinals fans. For Cardinals fans, this was ginormous after they signed right-handed pitcher Sonny Gray. For 3 years, $75 million. His stats was awesome. He was second place in AL Cy Young. He was 8-8, 2.79 ERA, 183 strikeouts. He was just lights out.
Yeah, it's great for Cardinals fans to have a true guy that could be considered an ace joining the rotation this year after the rotation struggled so much last year. So having somebody on the front line there to be a true number one, absolutely huge for Cardinals fans. Also, the contract value wasn't as huge of a hit as maybe we would have expected. The good news is, $25 million on average per year. That's a big chunk of change. But due to Sonny Gray's age, the Cardinals were able to lock him in for only 3 years. So it doesn't feel like they're
stuck.
Yeah, they're hamstrung financially for several years. So huge get for the Cardinals, provides an instant upgrade to their rotation.
Yeah, right-handed pitcher Kenta Maeda signed with the Tigers. In 2023, he was all right, maybe number 4 starter, 6-8, 4.23 ERA, 117 strikeouts. Nothing big, but for the Tigers, that's what they got.
Well, and I think that this will be a bigger signing for the Tigers than what it looks like on paper. I think that last year Maeda was coming off of Tommy John surgery. It takes a little bit of time to get the groove back. Prior to Tommy John, he was better than the numbers he put up last year. I think he'll be a good signing for the Tigers, who are looking to bounce back. However, I do feel bad for the Twins. That's two starters off of their playoff team from last year that they're missing out on. So I know the Twins said they wanted to cut payroll. I don't know if they wanted to cut it in that way, losing two of their best pitchers.
Yeah. The White Sox went from Tim Anderson to Paul DeJong. They signed Paul DeJong for a 1-year deal, so they're not stuck with him, just like the Cardinals with Sonny Gray. They're just going to maybe they see something in Paul DeJong that they didn't see in Tim Anderson. I have no idea, because he had 207. He did have 14 home runs, which is all right. But other than that, he wasn't really that good.
Yeah, strangely enough, they're going from Tim Anderson to Paul DeJong, and it might be considered an upgrade.
Maybe.
Tim Anderson's batting average was similar, but I think he only hit 1 home run maybe last year.
Yeah, only 1.
And at least with Paul DeJong, you know what you're getting.
Yeah, you're gonna get like 14, maybe 10 home runs and hit like a 200, maybe higher.
Yeah, he's gonna bat maybe 220.
Yeah.
He's gonna hit a few home runs. He's gonna play fine defense. It's not gonna be fantastic, but Tim Anderson, it was just such a weird season for him last year. He fell off a cliff. On top of the batting dropped, the power was gone. He didn't get on base as much. He was getting in fights on the field, getting suspended. Just not something.
Season.
Yeah, just it was a wacky season. Not something that that White Sox fans would like to see more of in the future. At least Paul DeJong will cut down on some of that.
Yeah. Ryan, the pitcher, Kyle Gibson signed with the Cardinals for 2023. He was fine, 15-9, 4.73 ERA. Nothing special. Definitely not as good as Sonny Gray, but he's a good, solid, maybe back of the end rotation guy that he can give you some solid starts. He goes pretty deep into innings and doesn't get injured a lot.
Yeah, and it's exactly what the Cardinals are looking for at this point. It's not a flashy free agent signing by any means, but for most of the season, the Orioles had the best record in baseball, and he was good enough to be a back of the rotation guy for one of the best teams in baseball. So why wouldn't he be good enough to be a back of the rotation guy for the Cardinals? So not flashy, and I know a lot of Cardinals fans were kind of up in arms.
Yeah,
I was like, oh my gosh, why are we? It makes sense. It makes sense. An innings eater for the back end of the rotation. Was 15-9. Sure, he gave up a lot of hits. Sure, he gave up a lot of runs. But he gave up a lot of hits because he pitched a lot of innings. He went 15-9. Yeah, I mean, that's all his stats almost all across the board are better than what the Cardinals had going in the 4 and 5 slots last year. So it's not flashy, but it's definitely an upgrade.
Yeah. The Braves signed Ronaldo Lopez for 3 years, $30 million. Nothing special about this deal, just a good bullpen arm. The Cardinals signed Lance Lynn, and for this one, they signed Lance Lynn and they signed Kyle Gibson. I was like, oh no, we're toast. And then they got Sonny Gray, and so it's become a little bit better of an offseason for the Cardinals. And then the Phillies re-signed Aaron Nola to 7 years, $172 million, which means basically Aaron Nola probably isn't going to play anywhere else for the rest of his life.
Yeah, I mean, why would you?
Yeah.
You've been successful in Philadelphia. He feels comfortable there. The Phillies are winning. The Phillies are willing to spend the money to keep him happy there. I think it'll be great. I think it'll be great for him. I think I was hoping the Cardinals could get in on a guy like Nola, but I'm happy with Sonny Gray. Still some big names left out there though. Like you can see on the graphic, Blake Snell, Shohei Ohtani, Cody Bellinger, Yamamoto coming over from Japan. Where do you think some of these guys might end up?
Oh, that's a good question. Honestly, I think the Cubs are probably going to get one of these guys. I think the Cubs they're a pretty big market team. I actually think Yamamoto is going to go to the Cubs.
I think the Cubs are kind of like one of those dark horse teams ready to cut a big check. I agree. The Cubs are going to get one of them. I would be shocked if they pulled out the checkbook to get Ohtani and Yamamoto.
Yeah, I think they're only going to get one. But with their new Craig Counsell, I think that he's going to change, and I think he's going to change the team. I think that they're going to go back onto the right pace.
Yeah, I think the Cubs are definitely players for lots of these star players. But we'll have to see. I also think the Giants might be a team to look out for as well too.
Yeah. That's really Blake Snell Blake Snell is going to go to the Mariners, his hometown, and I feel like there's an article and I read, and he said he was talking about how he wanted to go to the Mariners. I think that he's going to go to the Mariners.
Yeah, and Bellinger's kind of another one of those players where it's like, I'm not quite sure what's going to happen. He had a fantastic year last year after being terrible, for lack of a better word. A couple of seasons before that, kind of resurrected his career in Chicago, opted out of his contract to try to hit big on free agency. It'll be interesting to see where he ends up. I know the Dodgers are a team that are looking for outfield help.
Yeah.
Would he be interested in a reunion there out in LA? Who knows? You always have big spenders like the Mets and the Yankees. It'll be interesting just to see where he ends up too.
Yeah, because if you put the money out there, you never know what's going to happen.
Yep.
So now we're going to be talking about the NFL playoff rankings. Just gonna go through the top 5 and then some honorable mentions. The last 5 through 10. From number 1, probably not very surprising, the Philadelphia Eagles. They're 10-1. And what do you think about this one?
I think the Eagles definitely look like the team to be in the NFL this year. And they started off the season 10-1. Last year they were 10-1 also. But last year it didn't feel like as real of a 10-1.
Yeah.
It felt like, somehow the Eagles won again. But this year, they're definitely the cream of the crop. So Jalen Hurts, he's second in the league in rushing touchdowns, and he also has 18 passing touchdowns.
Yeah.
I think the Eagles are looking to try to bounce back after last year's Super Bowl defeat.
Yeah, definitely. Number 2 is the Baltimore Ravens. I really think that they're kind of like the most balanced team in the defensive success rate, 62.9%. Offensively, they led the league in rushing, 158.6 per game, and are 7th in yards overall, 366.1. I feel like the Ravens, they're just balanced. They have the offense, they have the defense. I feel like they could go on a run.
Yeah, I think the Ravens kind of have a playoff drought. They haven't advanced past the divisional stage in 12 years whatever, since they won the Super Bowl with Joe Flacco. But it looks like that could change with Lamar Jackson. They're definitely in a position to be able to win some playoff games.
Yeah. The reigning Super Bowl champions is number 3, the Kansas City Chiefs. They are 8-3, and if they win this the second in a row, any worries that their wide receiving corps should be offset by the fact that this team did win the Super Bowl last year with the same group, plus Juju Smith-Schuster, who has 24 catches this season for 159 yards, and they added him, and they're really good. They're better than last year, and they won the Super Bowl, and so they could definitely go on a run.
Better's a relative term. I think, yes, they are better, but it's not like wide receiver is still a major concern for Kansas City. We've already seen the Chiefs lose at least one of their 3 losses can be directly blamed on poor play from wide receiver. It's just hard going into the playoffs thinking that a team that has that glaring of a weak spot, it's really tough to call them a favorite. But they have Patrick Mahomes. No matter what happens with the wide receivers, they have Patrick Mahomes. But at the same time, wide receiver's a big question mark.
Yeah, for number 4, it is the San Francisco 49ers. They're 8-3. And when they acquired defensive end Chase Young at the trade deadline, the 49ers are second in the league with 15 sacks. They have at least 4 sacks in each game since then. And they got Geno Smith 6 times on Thanksgiving Day. With their defense of Christian McCaffrey and Jimmy Garoppolo, is that who they have?
No, it's Brock Purdy.
Got it wrong. But they still have the quarterback. They still have the offense and the defense. They're another balanced out team.
They are a balanced out team, and Purdy's been great. But at the same time, it's like, who is this guy? And you're just kind of always waiting for the clock to strike midnight on Cinderella, and you just never. Maybe he'll turn into the next Tom Brady or whatever, but I just don't trust. I don't have a whole lot of trust in Brock Purdy. He's been great, but I just don't have that feeling that he's going to be great long term. But regardless, with a defense like that, the 49ers are definitely in a position to make noise in the playoffs.
Yeah, definitely. Number 5 is the Dallas Cowboys. As kind of Texans fans, I don't really watch a lot of Texans, but I know you watch a lot of Texans, and as Texans fans, you probably hate to see the Dallas Cowboys up there 8-3 with the number 5 spot in the playoff rankings. You take it away. Yeah,
I think I have a natural bias against the Cowboys, just being a Texans fan, and then also you let Dak Prescott, an old Mississippi State quarterback. As an Ole Miss fan, for me, I have no reason to cheer for the Cowboys at all. But at the same time, they lead the NFL in scoring margin. They're second in offensive EPA, third in defensive EPA, 10th in special teams. The Cowboys are kind of rolling, and as much as I don't like to say it, they're in a good spot.
Yeah. Now we're just gonna go through the honorable mentions. Number 6 is the Miami Dolphins. Number 7 is the Detroit Lions.
Detroit Lions, they're sneaky fun to watch. The Lions have been terrible for a long time, but they're definitely a fun team to watch.
Number 8 is the Jacksonville Jaguars. Number 9, and then we're just gonna skip to number 10. And number 10 is the Houston Texans. Houston Texans went from basically trash last year, and now they're 6-5, doing pretty good.
Yeah, I think the Texans did lose last week they lost last week to the Jaguars. I think there was some questionable officiating calls in that game. Plus, you got a backup kicker that doinks a 58-yarder off the crossbar in the last minute of the game. They had everything. Everything was there for the Texans to sweep the Jaguars this year. The Texans' record is 6-5. Which isn't the best, but they're definitely coming on strong and they're improving throughout the year. If somehow they could make it into the playoffs, just having C.J. Stroud out there would not make it a very fun matchup for whoever they have. Whoever they have in the playoffs, he's always going to be somebody that you have to contend with.
Yeah. All right. So those were the top 10 playoff rankings from The Athletic. Make sure, thanks to The Athletic, ESPN, MLB.com for all the info. Make sure to like, subscribe, hit the bell, and we'll see you guys later.